Let's take a brief moment to talk about how great Christmas movies are. They might be sappy, repetitive, and shoved down our throats every year, but watching a Christmas film you know and love is like being wrapped in a warm hug. It's safe, reliable, and makes you feel all fuzzy inside. Unfortunately, these fuzzy feelings rarely transfer over to the world of video games. Christmas movies do get turned into games, but they are, more often than not, cheap tie-ins designed to move units rather than to move their players. Well, we here at TripleJump have had enough of this blatant mistreatment, and we've come up with our own ideas of how to adapt 10 beloved Yuletide tales into video games. We've taken inspiration from existing properties and worked out how to combine them with some of our favourite festive flicks to get the best of both worlds. Oh, and don't even think about stealing any of our ideas, Hollywood. We've got a team of lawyers on standby. Okay, it's just one lawyer. Alright, it's actually just Billy Ray Walrus in a suit, but still, he will see you in court nonetheless. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are 10 Christmas movies that would make great video games. Number 10. Home Alone in the Dark. We're kicking things off with a movie that already has a video game adaptation, one that we here at Team TripleJump know all too well. But surely we can do better than the original Home Alone adaptation. Well, we certainly think so, and we think the best way to go about it is to make it a survival horror game. Naturally. We're taking inspiration from the 1992 masterpiece Alone in the Dark, which is often credited with inspiring series like Resident Evil and Silent Hill. The game is tailor-made for a crossover with Home Alone. Both are about lone protagonists confined to a single house with evil forces conspiring to harm them in some way. Just swap out the wet bandits for a devil-worshipping pirate and they're basically the same thing, right? The puzzle-solving mechanics in Alone in the Dark could easily be combined with Kevin's traps from the films. Imagine all the fun players would have tripping up monsters on icy steps or throwing tarantulas in their stupid faces. I'm telling you, these two properties are a match made in heaven. Just avoid basing it on any of the modern Alone in the Dark games. They're scary too, but for all the wrong reasons. Number 9. Little Nightmares Before Christmas. Another pairing that makes perfect sense, to us at least, is the 2017 horror platformer Little Nightmares and Tim Burton's fiendish holiday classic, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Little Nightmares follows the journey of Six, a young girl who must navigate her way through a dark prison and survive the various creatures she encounters along the way. As she discovers more and more of her surroundings, she realizes she's going to need more than just her trusty lighter in order to survive. The game's dark setting lends itself perfectly to a mashup with The Nightmare Before Christmas, which somehow is a children's film. Look how dark and scary everything is. Our writer wet himself the first time he saw it, and that was only last week. For a crossover, naturally you'd want Jack Skellington in the protagonist role, perhaps venturing back to Halloween Town after crashing his sleigh and attempting to avoid the outraged humans who want him to pay for his crimes against Christmas. Oogie Boogie, on the other hand, is a perfect fit for the role of the janitor, though mainly just because I want to see him get his arms chopped off. Both of these spookfests have become iconic in their own right, and a combination of the two would make for a truly special, if a little disturbing, video game experience. Number 8. Miracle on 34th Street Fighter. What better way to celebrate one of the most cherished and heartwarming Yuletide tales of all time than by having its characters knock the ever-loving tinsel out of each other? Miracle on 34th Street is a 1947 film about a department store Santa who claims to be the real deal. Younger viewers, and by that we mean viewers under the age of about 90, will probably be more familiar with the 1994 version of the movie, which starred the late great Richard Attenborough as Saint Nick. The film is a great mood booster, the perfect movie to watch cuddled up under a blanket waiting for the first flakes of snow to fall. That tends to happen in February, actually, but never mind. With that said, we reckon it could do with a bit of lightening up, so we're calling on some video game developer out there to combine it with one of the greatest fighting game franchises of all time. In a Street Fighter-inspired adaptation of the film, players could choose between a range of characters from the movie and then wage side-scrolling war against each other. There could even be some DLC pitting characters from the remake against ones from the original. That would certainly be one way to settle all those arguments about which is better. Number 7. Silent Hill Night. Whilst it's hardly a Christmas classic, 2021's Silent Night might be worth checking out if you like your festive films with an added dash of apocalyptic doom. And let's face it, who doesn't? Starring Keira Knightley, Matthew Good, and Lily Rose Depp, Silent Night is about a group of friends who gather for one final Christmas celebration to spare themselves from a huge cloud of toxic gas heading their way. Glad tidings indeed. Now, if only there was a video game we could easily combine this with. Oh, hang on, wait a second. A menacing fog that contains unknown horrors and kills almost everyone it engulfs? Now, where have I heard that before? It's as if this film was made for the sole purpose of crossing over with Silent Hill. You can keep the setting of a last hurrah Christmas party, but instead of the cloud poisoning people like it does in the film, it could contain all of the monsters from the 1999 survival horror classic. Picture the scene. A tinsel-decked pyramid head crashes the party, forcing Keira and chums to fight back using the pointy end of the Christmas tree and the bits that go bang inside a Christmas cracker. Could you make an explosive out of those? I don't know, but don't try it. The point is, you try telling me that is not a Christmas game worth playing. Number 6. Black and White Christmas. The 1954 musical film, White Christmas, is regarded by many to be one of the greatest holiday movies of all time. The 2001 God simulator, Black and White, is considered by some to be among the greatest video games ever made. As such, we think it's high time the two came together, even if tonally they're worlds apart from each other. White Christmas is about two former soldiers turned song and dance men trying to save a bankrupt inn, whilst Black and White takes place during a battle for supremacy between various deities. Admittedly, there's little common ground here, but we think there's still a mashup in there somewhere. Imagine that the player character starts off as a humble stage performer, trying to save their venue from foreclosure ahead of Christmas Day. Then they discover they have magical godlike powers and have to fight off celestial beings whilst also using said powers to put on shows and attract more customers. Or you could just have all the gods from Black and White gather around a piano to bang out a few tunes and make it a rhythm action game instead. That would work too, I suppose. Number 5. Jingle All the Prey. Arnold Schwarzenegger's greatest cinematic achievement was not his starring role as the Terminator or taking out the Predator, but rather hunting for a popular toy in Christmas comedy caper Jingle All the Way. And yes, I am willing to fight anyone who disagrees. The film stars Arnie as a father desperately trying to track down a sold-out action figure that he forgot to buy for his son for Christmas. This might seem like a weak premise for a film, but in its defense, Turbo Man does look pretty rad. I think I want one for Christmas this year. Whilst the film is as good as it is, we think it could do with a bit more sci-fi action to spice it up. Enter Prey. No, I'm not saying it yet, just hang tight. Now this could refer to either the 2006 game Prey, published by 2K, or the 2017 game called Prey, or Prey 2 if you want to get serious about this, there it is, by Bethesda. The former follows a Native American man who gets kidnapped by aliens, and the latter is about a scientist trapped aboard a space station fighting off a race of shadowy creatures. Either way, both games have exactly what Jingle All the Way really needs. Imagine how much tougher our hero's quest would be if he had to fend off an intergalactic threat in order to get what he wants. And let's face it, if anyone knows a thing or two about taking down aliens, it's our man, Arnie. Number 4. Frostbite the Snowman. The Frostbite game engine was first released in 2008 and was developed by DICE after they were bought out by EA. But please don't hold that against it. Designed to maintain large-scale multiplayer environments, Frostbite was first used for Battlefield Bad Company and has since been integral to the development of series like Need for Speed, Star Wars Battlefront, and FIFA. It was also used for Mass Effect Andromeda, but again, don't hold that against it. As for Frosty the Snowman, he may be more famous for a song, but he's actually appeared in a bunch of TV and direct-to-video movies over the years. For a video game adaptation, there are a number of different scenarios you could put Frosty in using the Frostbite engine. The engine was used to develop ice hockey game NHL 22, which is a perfect fit for our snowy pal. Imagine Frosty scoring a mad goal or clattering into an unsuspecting opponent. Hours of fun. Alternatively, why not drop Frosty into the Battlefield universe, or get him to compete in illegal street races, or even have him chilling, quite literally, in deep space with our favourite Mass Effect or Star Wars characters. The possibilities are literally endless. Number 3. How Edith Finch Stole Christmas. Finch, Grinch, do you get it? They rhyme with each other. That's basically it. Alright, you try coming up with 10 of these. God, what happened to Goodwill to All Men and all that? What Remains of Edith Finch is a walking sim revolving around the titular character and her unfortunate family. The Finch clan are said to be cursed, with all but one member of each generation dying young in horrible accidents. A tragic protagonist with a grim family backstory? That sounds familiar. All we're missing is the green fur. Drawing inspiration from the 2000 movie starring Jim Carrey, Edith's story could easily be tweaked to mirror that of the holiday-hating Grinch. All of the Finch family deaths now take place around Christmas time, causing Edith to grow bitter towards the celebration. Once a year, in order to prevent the curse, she and her pet dog, who for copyright reasons we will call Bax, go around the nearby town stealing presents, trees, and roast dinners. But due to the overwhelming kindness of the townsfolk, Edith sees the error of her ways and finally understands the true meaning of Christmas. And then she gets hit by a bus. Number 2. Blast Christmas. In 2019, someone thought it would be a good idea to turn Wham's festive classic, Last Christmas, into a film. And guess what? It was not a good idea. Last Christmas stars Game of Thrones' Emilia Clarke as a disgruntled store worker who forms a relationship with a mysterious man around Christmas time. Then, spoiler alert, there's a whole thing about her needing a transplant, and the man she's been seeing literally gives her his heart. You know, like in the song? Yeah, it is really that rubbish. Being an awful piece of media, Last Christmas is absolutely ripe for an adaptation by our good friends at Blast Entertainment, the masterminds behind iconic worst games ever fodder such as Lassie, Captain Scarlet, and Paddington Bear, to name but a few. Just imagine all the fun you could have with the stars of the movie in some classic Blast scenarios. Guiding Emilia Clarke round a sheep pen, collecting marmalade sandwiches with Henry Golding, or destroying the Mysterons with Emma Thompson. This thing basically writes itself. Last Christmas shows us that the Yuletide season is about bringing people together who belong with one another. And that would be a commendable message were it not presented in such an awful movie. Based on this film's quality, we reckon a Blast game is exactly what it deserves. And number 1, It's a Wonderful Life is strange. Topping many people's lists of the greatest Christmas movies of all time is the 1946 classic It's a Wonderful Life. The film follows George Bailey as he rediscovers his lust for life after a guardian angel shows him how the world would be if he was never born. Despite an initially flat response from audiences, the film is now mandatory viewing at Christmas, and there have been countless parodies and homages to it made in the years since its release. The movie weaves supernatural forces into a very real story of despair and hopelessness. The more contemporary equivalent is Life is Strange, which makes use of fantastical powers to frame stories of teenage angst and mental health struggles. Allowing fans of the film to play through an alternate version of George Bailey's life whilst making use of a decision-making mechanic would be a great new spin on the classic tale, actually. The game could even stray from the original plot by having multiple endings, each one dependent on the different choices Bailey makes. Hang on, is there actually a good game in here somewhere? We did it, everyone. We accidentally came up with a good idea based on a stupid pun title. It's a miracle. A Christmas miracle. Happy holidays, you wonderful lot.